Let's move into NFL Week 4 winners and losers. Andrew, we'll start with the winners.
Yeah, so my winners for this week are Brian Dable's potential job security and an extension for not an extension, but another year for him, and then the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'll start with Brian Dable. I think that this win and just in general, Jackson Dart playing half decent. He didn't have the greatest game in the world. He almost was a game manager, but that's kind of what you want in the scenario of your possible franchise quarterback going into a game against an undefeated Chargers team that had a vaunted defense that everybody was talking about and just a good overall team. I don't think that you could have really asked for much more out of a start from him. And then also just that offense in general, obviously losing Malik Neighbors, which is super unfortunate, but Cam Scatterbo was good again this game and looks like he could be the running back in the future, maybe a tandem between him and Tyrone Tracy when they get back. So I think the fact that the Giants look competent and that defense has looked good all season. Like the defense hasn't been the reason why they've been losing games. It's because Russell Wilson couldn't find anything on offense except for that one game that he just absolutely went off. So I think that if Jackson Dart is a hit, I think that buys Brian Dable another year, especially given the fact that he can make the argument we didn't even have our best receiver for the majority of the season by the end of the season, and just everything that comes along with the defense being half decent this year. I think Brian Dable possibly is one of the guys I want to crown as winner this weekend, their first win. And then the Jaguars, they get a win against one of the best teams in the NFL, obviously losing Nick Bosa the week before, but still, it's a good win for the Jags. They're 3-1, and they're a very competent team at this point. Trevor Lawrence is playing half decent football, and this is without Brian Thomas Jr. really being the guy that he was supposed to be this year. Travis Hunter hasn't lived up to the number 2 overall draft selection, and they're still 3-1 in a division that isn't incredibly tough and could possibly come out of that division if the Colts slip up at any point. So I think that looking forward for the Jags, not a terribly difficult schedule. I think that the Jags getting this win is definitely a good one for them.
I like both of those. I definitely think Dayball potentially bought himself another year, and then the Jags, just like that, 3-1, tied for the top of the division with the Colts. I believe the Colts win the tiebreaker or whatever. I think it's conference record. Just you're making sure that their season doesn't not slip away, but it's funny how quick it happens in a sense, right? Where it feels like, wow, the Jags are 3-1. And so I definitely agree with both of those winners. The other winner that I have, or the winners that I have, are the Rams. We'll start with them first. They got that win over the Colts, bounce back week after blowing their lead and their win against the Eagles. I really am starting to like what I see from this Rams team. Puka Nacua is just on an absolute tear through the first 4 weeks of the season. He is looking like a true wide receiver 1. And maybe there wasn't a ton of doubts going into this year, but Stafford and him have a connection that, in my opinion, is one of the best in the league. And this division, in my opinion, with the 49ers getting a loss and the Cardinals getting a loss, it looks like the Rams, in my opinion, are the best team in that division. Obviously, I got to mention the Seahawks. They look really good too. They're 3-1. But if I had to bet, I would bet more on the Rams in the future. And then for my other winner, I have the Steelers. They go to Ireland and they beat a Carson Wentz-led Minnesota Vikings team. They had that game for a good majority of it. And I just think with getting a win there, moving to 3-1, and unfortunately with Lamar Jackson and the Ravens going to 1-3, Lamar Jackson could potentially miss some time with his hamstring injury. This bodes really well for the Steelers' future as far as making the playoffs and giving Aaron Rodgers and that team a chance to make a run in the playoffs. The Bengals right now look really terrible with Jake Browning, and the Browns were never a threat. So it's starting to look like this is something where the Steelers could be 5-1 and the Ravens are 2-4, and the Bengals might be whatever they are. I don't know what they would end up being. We're right 2-4 as well, and that's a pretty big lead for the Steelers. So I have them as some big winners here after week 4.
Yeah, taking a 3-game lead at any point in a division race is a pretty drastic lead, especially given the fact that when Lamar Jackson does come back, how is he going to look? Will he be hampered at all? And even if he's not, the Ravens were losing games even with Lamar Jackson, which it is a little bit unfair because that Chiefs game wasn't completely in hand. It was for the majority. I don't think that Lamar Jackson would have made a spectacular comeback, but especially that Bills game coming off of a game that they probably should have won. This maybe the scenario doesn't maybe look as drastic if they're 2-2, but 1-3 starting and then also losing your starting quarterback for possibly a couple weeks definitely doesn't look great in a race where the Steelers have some easy opponents coming up. But things can change. But going 3 games down would be pretty drastic for the Steelers and or the Ravens. And then for on the Steelers' perspective, it would look really, really good for them, possibly getting to have a game in a home game, a home playoff game, cup in the playoffs.
All right, let's move into your losers for week 4.
Yeah. So my losers, I think first one's pretty obvious. The Titans, just any hope for their season. Unfortunately, Cam Ward can't work miracles. That team, he doesn't have anybody around him. Calvin Ridley is becoming a shell of himself, which is really unfortunate because he's in back-to-back seasons, he put up over 1,000 yards, which I feel like that mark is getting increasingly less meaningful with more games and just quarterback stats going up a little bit. But still, 1,000-yard seasons, and I doubt he's going to hit that this year. And then Iomaner is their top target at this point. Everything for the Titans just doesn't look that great. Their defense isn't really stopping anybody, and they can't put points up on the board. They literally were the only team to get shut out this week. And then moving on, the Raiders and Geno Smith. I think that the Raiders are in a similar situation or maybe not a similar situation, but they're in a bad situation where they're 1-3, and they're really looking at Geno Smith and questioning their quarterback decision at this point, going out and trading for him from the Seahawks and getting Pete Carroll to lead that offense essentially, or like lead the whole team. But Geno Smith throwing 3 picks on Sunday and essentially losing them that game. They had the Bears on the ropes for the majority of that game, and that should be a game where you look back, they're 2-2 if Geno just plays half decent, but you really have to start looking at the quarterback situation and how good can that team be if Geno's only like a top 20 quarterback in the league. Like Geno has to be a top 12 quarterback in the league for that situation in Las Vegas to work. And I don't think that he's anywhere around that range right now. So the Raiders situation looks pretty drastic at this point, and they should, if he's going to play like he has been over the last couple of games, they're going to need to move off him relatively quickly within the next year or two. So we'll see how that situation goes. But yeah, Raiders and Titans just in general for the season might be losers on that front.
Such an unfortunate move for the Raiders, especially when you just compare it to what's going on with Sam Darnold and the Seahawks, and them being 3-1. Geno Smith 6 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Plenty of Saddam Hussein edits as well going around. So that's when you know it's getting bad. So the Raiders are not in a good position. Also, they're in one of the toughest divisions in the National Football League. So I think that they're pretty much cooked as far as being, any sort of competitive team in that division or in the AFC. The Titans, Cam Ward can only not turn the ball over for so long. It was in the first 2 weeks, and now they become the second shutout of the season, and the Texans get their tune-up win before they move on. So things just aren't turning out well. Expectations were low for the Titans, but would have liked to see them maybe steal one of these first 4 games. They got the Cardinals, Raiders, Patriots, Colts. So they got some winnable games coming up over the next 4. My losers are the Panthers and the hope for this season. Right when you think that they might be turning things around. Yeah, I didn't think so. But they get that shutout win over the Falcons, and then they score the first touchdown against the Patriots, and then the Patriots have 42 unanswered points after that. And then classic Panthers fashion, they tack on a touchdown really late. And I don't really think it's all Bryce Young's fault, but I'm just out now. I don't know if it's going to work. And I think it's so unfortunate. He was so dynamic at Alabama, and I think he's got it. Like, he really has like the it factor, but I just don't know if he's got and I don't even think it's just his height. I just don't know if he's got the physical tools or just the tools even around him in a sense to make this work. And I think the Panthers are going to be in a position next season to draft a quarterback, because I like Dave Canales as a head coach. I think he's a good offensive coach as well. If it's that you just can't have games like this against a team like the Patriots. And I like the Patriots. I think that they are a decent team in the NFL. They're not a 42-13 team or like win type of team over somebody who is decent. Like the Panthers in that case have to be awful. And that's exactly what it is. They're losers after this week. And then Ravens losing Lamar Jackson and potentially staring down the barrel of 1-5 or 2-4 is not a good place to be. they have played some really good teams and lost some close games too in the first few weeks. But that injury, on top of the Steelers win, I have to couple it up with my winner and say that they're also losers. Got to respect the Chiefs and the Bills. Two of their losses coming at the hands of some of the top teams in the AFC, but 1-3 now, and their schedule isn't exactly like easy coming up. So I have to put them as my losers.
Yeah, I don't really see any disagreements with any of that. And then also you throw in the Lions game in there too, where they're going back and forth, and then they end up losing a 38-30 shootout. Like those are three games that are like winnable, but like against really hard teams. And at this point, you would have liked to see them be able to pull out one or two of those because of the fact that Lamar Jackson goes down now, and the season just looks a lot bleaker than it did a couple weeks ago. But starting from your first loser, I think that the Panthers are just it is very bleak for them, and I think we've gone over how we both feel about the Panthers a little bit, but I didn't really have any faith in Bryce Young from like the start of the season. I think I bought into it a little bit towards the end of last season, and there was like just a sliver of like he could be good in my mind, but like from week one, I just haven't seen anything that I've been impressed with. And even in that win that they had, the shutout win against the Falcons, it was more of like the defense and just everybody else putting a holistic performance together than I really thought. Oh, Bryce Young dominated this game. He's the sole reason why they had such a dominating win over the Falcons. And I think the Falcons also just didn't play very well. They didn't cross the 30-yard line and the opponent's 30-yard line in that game. So yeah, for the Panthers, I could very easily see them having another season where they have one of the top picks in the NFL draft, and I don't know exactly who you're taking at this point if you have one of the top picks in the NFL draft, but this could very easily be Bryce Young's final season starting at quarterback.